Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jayam Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Ashtadharashata Srimad, His Divine Grace, His Bhaktivedanta, Swami Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jaya. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Ashtadharashata Srimad, His Divine Grace, His Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jaya. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jaya. All glories of the assembled devotees, all glories of the assembled devotees, all glories of the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6. Prescribed duties for mankind. Text, chapter 12, Dhritarashtra's glorious death. Text 11. Purushaha prakritir vyaktam atma bhutendriyashayaha shaknuvanti asya sargadao na vina yad anugrahat. Purusha prakriti vyaktam Atma bhutendriyāṣayaha Shaknuvantyasya sargado Navinayat anugrahat Purusha prakritir vyaktam Atma bhutendriyāṣayaha Shaknuvantyasya sargado Navinayat anugrahat Purusha prakritir vyaktam Atmabhutendriyāṣayaha Shaknuvantyasya sargado Vinayat anugrahat Tyler wants to. Purushaha, the generator of the total material energy. Prakritihi, the material energy or material nature. Vyaktam, the principles of manifestation. Mahatattva. Atma, the false ego. Bhuta, the 5 material elements. Indriya, the 10 senses. Ashayaha, the mind, intelligence, and consciousness. Shaknuvanti, are able. Asya, of this universe. Sarga ado, in the creation, etc. Na, not. Mina, without. Yet, of whom. Anugrahat, the mercy. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The 3 Purushas, Karnodakshayi Vishnu, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, and Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, the material energy, the material nature, the total material energy, the false ego, the 5 material elements, the material senses, the mind, the intelligence, and consciousness cannot create the material manifestation without the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. As confirmed in Vishnu Purana, Parasya Brahmana Shaktis Tatedam Akilam Jagat, whatever manifestations we experience are nothing but various energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These energies cannot create anything independently. This is also confirmed by the Lord Himself in Bhagavad Gita 9.10. Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and unmoving living beings. Only under the direction of the Lord, the Supreme Person, can Prakriti, which is manifested in 24 elements, create different situations for the living entity. In the Vedas, the Lord says, Madhyam Mahimanam Cha parabrahmeti shabditam vetsasyas anugritam me samprashnar viritam ridi. Since everything is a manifestation of my energy, I am known as Parabrahman. Therefore, everyone should hear from me about my glorious activities. The Lord also says in Bhagavad Gita 10.2, Aham adirhi devanam, I am the origin of all the demigods. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the origin of everything, and no one is independent of Him. Śrīla Madhvācārya also says, anīśa jīva-rūpeṇa, the living entity is anīśa, never the controller, but is always controlled. Therefore, when a living entity becomes proud of being an independent īśvara or God, that is his foolishness. Such foolishness is described in the following verse. Amaganatividandasya kananjana shalakya chakshuvanmaditamena tasmai shri gurvedam ha mukum grivachalam pangam langatigirim yat kripatamaham vande shri gurindiditaram vanchakapurupischa kripasindubhevacha patitanam pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, the translation again. The three Purushas, Karno Dakashayi Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, the material nature, the total material energy, the false ego, the five material elements, the material senses, the mind, the intelligence, and consciousness cannot create the material manifestation without the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam is all right. Whoa, this one's somehow it seems a lot louder, this one. Is it? Hare Krishna. So, Srimad Bhagavatam is a most amazing literature, or transcendental literature, and the Srimad Bhagavatam encourages the readers to relish the Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's that verse, Rasi, how does that start? Yeah, how does that one start? Pabita Bhagavatam, yeah, Nigama Kalpataru. Pabita Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhavaka. How does it start again? Yeah, Nigama Kalpataru Galitam Palam. So it is the mature, ripened fruit of all Vedic literature. So it is the essence of all Vedic literature. So Srimad Bhagavatam is advising that, encouraging us just relish the nectar of the Bhagavatam. Therefore, we're having Bhagavatam classes every day. Therefore, we're being encouraged to read Bhagavatam, to meditate on Srimad Bhagavatam, and in this way experience the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness, which the Bhagavatam it's meant for the liberated souls. It's also meant for those who are... Srila Prabhupada says it's attractive actually to three categories. It means the liberated, those who are trying to be liberated, and those who are conditioned. It's interesting that Prabhupada said it's even attractive for those who are conditioned. Prabhupada mentions this in the beginning of Krishna book, that these pastimes of Krishna with the gopis will be attractive for the liberated souls, those who are trying to be liberated, and even conditioned souls. They're so attractive. Of course, if one's a complete animal, atmaha, or what is it, atmaha, right? Killer of their own self, right? Suicidal fellow, or animal killer, then they won't be attracted. There is some injunction like that. But the Bhagavatam, it establishes Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, coming in his different forms, right? Nrsimha, Vamana, Kapila Dev, so many different forms he is coming. And in each of these forms, we will see that he is teaching particular lessons to us. He's trying to educate us, enlighten us. And though it may be entertaining or it may be engaging to our imaginations or intelligence, or there is a lesson, and that's important to always note, that because people they want, especially in modern days, they want everything to be entertaining, and if it's not entertaining, it's useless. Right? So who cares if there's a lesson or not, as long as it's entertaining, right? But although the Bhagavatam may be entertaining, if you want to use that word, it's meant to teach us something, and it's meant to bring us to the point where we actually accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if we analyze within Śrīla Prabhupada's books, he used this term a lot, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I think he used it around 10,000 times within his books. That's a lot. If you analyze Nectar Devotion, Bhagavad Gita, Shiv Upanishad, Nectar Devotion, Prabhupada's main books, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, there's a number, Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a number of books, but Prabhupada used 10,000 times. That's a lot, actually. Even despite the voluminous nature of Srila Prabhupada's books, that's still a lot, 10,000 times. So he was stressing this point, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And although, the Srimad Bhagavatam, it gradually brings one to the point of Krishna's pastimes in the 10th canto, Srila Prabhupada wrote Krishna book in such a wonderful way, and he said, mass distribute it. Which a lot of the times, or at different occasions, Srila Prabhupada would say this 10th canto is just meant for the liberated souls, right? Especially the Rasa Leela section, Krishna dancing with the gopis, because people would take this as ordinary, mundane, boy-girl love affairs of the material world. But Prabhupada translated in such a way and commented on it in such a way that people would get the right idea. And he said, just mass distribute it. And this is a most amazing thing in in history actually. That which is untouchable by the mlechas, that which is untouchable by the chandalas, that's what's untouchable by the low-class people of the world. Srila Prabhupada translated and said, just mass distribute it, give it to them. Give them the nectar. It's amazing, actually. And no other charya has done such a thing in history. Generally, these books were these books were handwritten on, of course they're handwritten on palm leaves and so on. And only the second initiated, twice born, would even touch them. Because they have the quality to understand them. They have the humility, they have the et cetera, right? The different qualities to actually understand. And but you could see the mercy of Srila Prabhupada that now it's available all over the world electronically. There's hundreds and thousands of books being distributed. And the idea is that the books are there to, again, give people the idea that to help them understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they should surrender to Krishna. And that the particular everything within our experience, everything that we are interacting with on a daily basis, is the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That nothing is moving without the will of the Supreme, right? As Prabhupada will quote, not even a blade of grass moves without the will of God. So everything's moving and everything's under the direction of Krishna. And as he says here in the Vedas, the verse is quoted, since everything is a manifestation of my energy, I am known as Parabrahman, therefore everyone should hear from me about my glorious activities. I am the origin of the demigods, the Supreme Personality of God, the origin of everything, and no one is independent of him. So we are all intimately connected with Krishna. The connection cannot be broken, but the connection can be forgotten. And that's the experience of most people in this world, that they feel disconnected. They feel lost. And actually they are. They're disconnected, they're lost. And therefore it is so important that devotees get into a preaching mood or a preaching spirit. That they approach the Bhagavatam not in the mood of enjoying, because that's a general tendency in this world. People approach everything practically in relation to, let me enjoy this, right? Although the Bhagavatam is saying relish it, but it's not saying to relish it in the mood of an enjoyer, but relish it in the mood of a servant, which is wonderful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, came to relish the nectar of servitorship to his own self. So at least we should be a little interested. What Krishna is interested, we should be interested also, right? To relish that. So we approach the Bhagavatam in the mood of service. The Krishna's pastimes in the mood of service. And then we'll be able to enter them, we'll be able to understand. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he pushed his disciples a lot to serve and to spread the Hare Krishna movement. Because by that, they become qualified as Prabodhananda Saraswati, I believe, has one shloka in which he says, you meditate and engage in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you enter that ocean, and then you appear on the bank of Radha Krishna's pastimes. So this mood of service is very important. In other words, people need help. And there's no one. And when I say no one, it's an absolute statement. It's a fanatic, religious absolute statement. There is no one besides you who are going to help them. With all due respect, of course, I mentioned this before, and this will not be at all attractive in an interfaith meeting, but we're not in an interfaith meeting. A simple point of nonviolence, ahimsa, simple point, means don't eat dead animals, don't eat live animals, don't eat roadkill, don't eat animals. It's a simple point. But 99.9% of religious people in the world, they do not understand it. And they'll actually fight against it if you bring it up to them. They'll fight for it. So, but without understanding that principle, it's very difficult for people to make tangible advancement in spiritual life. So in other words, just starting people off with the ABCs of spiritual life, who's doing that? So what I'm saying is the Hare Krishna movement, these are just the ABCs. Don't eat animals. That's like basic principles of human life. So in other words, devotees have a you could say an upper hand, for all you people who know that type of language out there. Devotees have an upper hand in the game already, if you want to use those weird terminology. In other words, the devotees have a chance to help these people even on the most basic platform. What to speak of higher and higher platforms. Therefore, Śrīla Prabhupada said that the Hare Krishna movement, it is a movement that is meant to save human society from its suicidal course. Through transcendental book distribution, through becoming a devotee, becoming a pure devotee of Krishna, to attract and to engage these people in Krishna service. And we may talk about it here and there, and we do talk about it, that people are suffering, but I mean, it's true, and we should really try to think about that. Because sometimes we just say, oh yeah, statistics, they say this, and we're like, oh yeah, statistics, all right, let's go to sleep, or, all right, so what, statistics, right? It's just kind of, or we just say, okay, we've heard it so much that people are suffering. Oh, Prabhupada says there's a lot of suffering. Okay, janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, right? Birth, death, old age, and these threefold miseries, right? It's just like a philosophical concept that just is floating around Prabhupada's books and floating around the Hare Krishna movement day and night, right? Okay, yeah, threefold misery, threefold. Well, I'm not feeling them. If you're in more sattva gun, you don't feel them much. So that's the danger, actually. Because you say, I'm not feeling them, and then I can't relate to people feeling them. But we should really think about it, that people are suffering. They really are suffering. And mostly it's mental suffering. Like people in San Diego, I mean, you get these, some people be offended or whatever, but you get these people, they have signs or something, and I'm hungry, right? Please feed me. Now, through the government programs, you get an ABT card and you get your food, and So people are, for the most part, more or less, they are doing all right, especially in comparison to many parts of the world in San Diego. But mentally, a lot of people are in a lot of anguish, mental anguish. They have enough money to go here and to go there, go on vacations to Tokyo and buy whatever they want on Amazon and buy whatever new trinket or new gadget they want, right? They have all that. They have a nice job and whatever. They have all that. But they're just like really suffering mentally. And the thing is, we never really know because people are really good actors and actresses. It's a Hollywood, what do you call it? Culture. People watch so many movies, they become very good at acting. Actresses and actors. They're so good at it. They hide it so well. Smiling. But, I mean, even Srila Prabhupada had the experience. He was riding on a train in India. And he was talking with this guy. And they were having a normal conversation. I mean, it was completely normal. The guy looked like completely normal. And they were talking, oh, what do you do for work? And what do you do for your family? And yeah, Prabhupada said, I'm from Allahabad and I'm a pharmacist and this, and they're going back and forth. And okay, yeah, nice. And how long, where are you off to? And talking. You meet some people like that, like on a plane or a train or whatever. So Prabhupada was just talking with this person. And then they stopped talking, and all of a sudden the guy just jumps out of the train, commits suicide. I mean, those trains go fast. He just jumped out and died. Prabhupada was like, oh, okay. I mean, it's not funny, but that's spooky. But in other words, there was no indication. You couldn't tell that was going to happen. Just jumped out of a train. So much of the people we interact with on book distribution, much of the people we interact with at the Krishna Lounge, much of the people we interact with throughout our lives, they may be suffering a lot, but you can't really tell. Like last night I met somebody, and very nice person, and Govardhan Prabhu gave them a book, gave her a book, Balboa Park, and then also about a year ago in La Jolla Cove, which is a very important principle to keep on pressing on these people. In other words, to always be in different places, so they keep on being reminded, right, of Krishna. Like Suvas Prabhu, when he was in Colorado as a Sankirtan devotee there, one fellow said, "Man, you Hare Krishnas are everywhere. I go to downtown. You're there. I go to the college. I go here. You're everywhere. There must be like hundreds of you, right?" And he goes, "No, there's about 5 of us." So, but they're present, consistent. Consistency is the key. So, she was talking to me, and she just told me, yeah, which I thought was honest and what do you call it? I was impressed, because a lot of people, they just hide. But she said, yeah, I'm just not happy. And she said, I might be smiling right now, but I'm miserable. And I took leave from my job because I'm having mental problems. And I said, where do you work? She said, it's a hospital. And I said, well, maybe you're seeing all the suffering people. Maybe you should. She said, yeah, I'm thinking about quitting. And she said, yeah, I have money. I have plenty of stuff. I mean, I go on vacations here and there. I tried everything. I'm doing everything. I don't feel any happiness. So then I was just trying to encourage her and tell her, about Krishna consciousness and chanting and everything. And she might keep on coming around. But you would never like sense it exactly. You couldn't, exactly sense it. Now, some people you can, but a lot of people they hide it well. So if we're able to enter the message of the Bhagavatam, or try to enter Krishna's pastimes, or try to understand them from the perspective of service And the perspective of service means to try to extend ourselves to those who need Krishna's mercy. Then we will have a better chance understanding. In other words, we will get the mercy for that. And it is an operation that, like, okay, there's the deity worship. There's deity worship. Deity worship requires people. Deities aren't going to worship themselves. They require people to worship them. Devotees, not just people, but devotees. And from that, devotees become pure. They become purified. They become free from Mr. Lust, as Prabhupada said. They become free from the lower modes of nature. Like Prabhupada said, oh, you're having trouble with Mr. Lust? Then he said, I recommend you worship the deities. So they become pure in heart. It becomes through worship of the deities, prasadam is there, right? Means the special prasadam, that's that food offered with love and devotion to the deities, which one devotee said, we shouldn't just cook food, right? It's not that we're just feeding people's hungry belly here at Krishna Lounge. That's not the point. We're not a Salvation Army or whatever. We're actually giving them Krishna's mercy. And this one devotee said, we're not just cooking, but we cook to convert. Of course, it sounds very... But we cook to change people, to transform them. In other words, they should taste the prasadam and feel, geez, I'm always going to remember that, and everything else I have is not going to be anything close to that. And the temple here is for this, to give people mercy, and also, of course, frontline business, book distribution, to give people Srila Prabhupada's books, most important, and to invite them, and to try to cultivate them. So, anyways, it's a whole operation going on, and everything is meant to inspire the other activities. For example, book distributors are inspired by the deity worship. Means by taking darshan of the beautiful deities and worshiping the deities and feeling purified. And even worshiping the deities and feeling purified. And then they go out, right? So in this way, we could gradually understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that we are not the Supreme Controller. And actually, we're always controlled. So we could come to the conclusion that, all right, well, if I'm not independent īśvara, if I'm not God, and if I'm always under control, well, I better learn how to be controlled by the right thing. We could be controlled as dogs of Maya, or as slaves of Maya, right? Which she comes in many forms, many representatives in this material world. Or we could become servants of Krishna, and we could become servants or representatives of Krishna, and be controlled out of devotion, out of love, not out of something else. So that's the particular choice. And as this, we're mentioning this īśvara, or the living entity being proud of being independent as īśvara, or God, and how this is foolish, this is described in the next verse, how foolish it is to be thinking, oh, I'm independent. This is described in the next verse, which will be tomorrow, and Vijay Prabhu is going to nice verse and purport. So does anybody have any question or comment? You have?
Thank you, Balarama. I was out on book distribution a few days ago, I met this Muslim young Mataji, and she asked a very interesting question. She said, I'm not really religious. And I said, why not? And she said, if God created us, then why does He hate us? And I was thinking, and just to make that point where you were mentioning, people cannot understand God, the basics, the ABCs and stuff like that. And she wasn't too philosophical, so I gave her, 2 little books, Chant and Be Happy and Higher Taste, And I told her, first thing you should do is change your diet, maybe.
Yes.
So I just want to say.
So that means she's accepting some idea that God exists, but He hates us because He's just punishing us, right? Yeah, I mean, people's concepts of God are, I could see, many people criticize the Abrahamic conceptions of God, Islamic conception, Christian conception. And actually they don't like it. And like one guy, he was telling me last night, Bhakti Owen, our good friend, smiley boy, Owen. But anyways, he was telling me that, he said it's wonderful that the temple's here. I'm so happy the temple's here. It's like a big relief. And he said, it's so nice to come here, and if people are feeling a little hungry, you guys are nice and you feed them, and then there's the kirtan. If someone's feeling sad, they join the kirtan. They feel community, this and that. It's just so nice. It's so loving and welcoming. He was saying. And he said, in contrast to other places he went, which he felt that people just didn't like him. You accept this philosophy or we pretty much hate you. Whereas devotees, we tried to not portray that, this idea that, okay, if you don't accept the principles of Krishna consciousness, we hate you, right? We do a good job of hiding it, right? I'm just joking. But anyways, he was commenting on the welcoming nature of the temple. But the fact is, okay, that God doesn't hate us. This is a misconception. And we could tell people that. I think you have a misconception of God. I was one time going shop to shop down there in National City distributing books. And I went to this shop, and there was a woman working there, was like an insurance, whatever, agency. So I went to her, and I tried to distribute a book to her. And she said, no, I'm not really into this. And, usually I don't say what I was about to say, but I said, what's the do you not like God? And she said, yes, that's true, I don't like God. And I said, well, what's your conception of God? And then she told me her conception. Yeah, it's like a Christian kind of conception. And I said, well, our conception of God's not like that at all. And I started talking about Krishna, the conception of Krishna, right? Or the personality of God, Krishna. I was talking. And she said, oh yeah, she took a book. So sometimes people just have the wrong conceptions, and you just tell them the right conception. It's like, yeah. So a lot of the times what other groups are actually doing is their disservice to religion, but if you want to look at it this way, we don't have to look at it this way. It's just one angle of vision, and it's not the most important one, but it's actually a service for us. It makes our life a little easier. It means our preaching a little easier. It makes us not look so so bad. Anyways, yes.
I was just, it's a question. You're talking about how, the deities need devotees to worship them and just different things. We need devotees, basically. And then those devotees come from our, extending ourselves and preaching
Yes, that's true.
To people outside. So I'm wondering, it's, I can think of a lot of people who, like especially at the Krishna Lounge, both Krishna Lounges and Sunday Feast or whatever, who, at least people that I talk to, like I try to talk to them every week. There's like a few, try to like check in with them. But it seems like at one point, I can think of a lot of people who are like interested in Krishna consciousness and who kind of like, and even some who kind of identify as devotees, but it's difficult to get them to like
surrender.
To like the next step, to like, beyond just liking Krishna consciousness and maybe even just identifying as a devotee, but like just having that be just kind of a certain, kind of a side thing in their life.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if you had any thoughts about that, about getting people kind of to the next level.
Yeah.
I mean, of course.
All right, I have some.
Of course, inviting them, and keep inviting them, come to the programs. There's one person who he came to the morning program once, and I keep telling him, you should come back to the morning program. It's nice having you. He just lives right down the street,
Yeah.
And he wakes up early anyway. So anyway, just if you had any thoughts about that.
Well, I mean, in our experience, we do get there are some who, I'm looking at some here. I mean, it seems like all of you, right, went a little more went some distance than a lot of people. I mean, you went much more distance than a lot of people. So some people do, but it's hard to say because sometimes, like I remember there was this one devotee girl. She got a book here in Pacific Beach. She was working at some shop here, and a devotee came in and gave her a book. And she read it, and she was into it, and she came to the temple, and she was coming for years. And she was chanting and, rounds and this and that, and associating with the devotees. Then at one particular point, she just kind of like, more or less, just disappeared from devotee association. Didn't really see her much. But then and because it's like people see where the train's going, Tirtha Maharaj used this example, but people see where the train's going, and they go, oh, it's going there, okay, I'm gonna jump off, I don't want to go there, They see it as a commitment, right? People are allergic to commitment nowadays, right? So I'm out, and they get spooked, they leave. But this person, after some time she came back, and she got initiated, and she got married. It was good for her. And she's continuing as a devotee. And also we have I remember this other devotee, now he's in Mayapur. He was coming around for some time, and again, he just kind of disappeared. And one devotee was bringing him lunch all the time from the temple, prasadam, to his work. And then he came back, and he got initiated, and now he's living in Mayapur. So sometimes people's path is not just like straight, full on. Sometimes people go this way, go that way, and so it's hard to say. We don't know what's going to happen with particular people. So we should just do our duty and just try. But I mean, purity is the force, so we have to be pure. We have to follow. We have to follow the principles and be pure in our mind and our behavior and our interactions with people. And we just do our duty, and we try to give them association. They need association. That's how they become devotees, by association. So we try to give them our association as much as possible, and try to create programs and things that will inspire them and encourage them. And and hopefully some people will take.
Nice class, thank you.
Thank you.
In Australia, there was a devotee giving class, and he mentioned there's a Sunday feast program. He said, you could join. And many of them didn't know. So we
Yeah.
could also, I mean, people may not even know, you know, you could come and you could join the ashram, you could join the temple if you want.
Yeah.
People don't know.
Yeah.
You just, you know, you can want to go an extra step, you can come and join us.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. There's a website created, which I don't know if some of you know, but it's called Inner Journey Weekend Retreat. It's our website. And it's a website that's created specifically for people to take weekend retreats at the temple. There's a card made for it. Of course, there's a card made for everything, right? But there's a card for it. There's a website. And in other words, this was all created. It was actually before lockdown, and then after that it was kind of... But it's there, and for, you know, to tell interested people, hey, check it out, and, you know, you could look it up, you could sign up, and, you know, it's a little more professional, but... Yeah, Mukunda gave you a card, huh? Yeah, generally, it seems that it's for people who are kind of like coming around and, you know, say, hey, check this out, check out this website, you know, look into it, think about it. Yeah. So also telling people, yeah, that's inviting people. So that's a way you can invite people. Because they don't know that they could join the temple. Of course, Prabhupada said no lazies and no, right? Okay, does anybody have any other?
Just a small comment. I was also distributing books yesterday, and I met a family from Brazil. And the son, he was maybe like 20 years old, and he expressed the desire to join an ashram and live as a monk. But of course, probably he identified us as probably like Buddhist monks or something like that. But there are people who are looking to do that. And also one time there was a homeless guy, and he was trying to collect, you know, some money, and he had a sign. He was holding a sign like that. It said, "Don't you have apathy?" So.
Okay. All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.